What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back in another video this time once again, where we'll look at some of the best NBA legends to ever play the game. And for today's video, we'll look at the best players of all time at the age of 37 years or older. And why I chose that number is currently LeBron James, he's about to turn 37, and also dominating the NBA in season 19. So with that being the case, let's go back in NBA history and rank the best players who are 37 years or older. So first up in our video at number 8, we have Dennis Rodman, one of the best rebounders of all time. And for Rodman's best year at 37 years or older, look to the 2000 season with the Dallas Mavericks. At this point, Rodman, he was 2 years removed from playing with the Bulls. He had a stint with the Lakers, where he only played 23 games, and then he ended up in Dallas, only playing 12 games in his last ever season. Now, even with Rodman not playing many games, he was still a pretty effective player at the age of 38. During this year for Dallas, he averaged 2.8 points per game, 14.3 boards, 1.2 assists on 39, 0, and 71 splits. Now, like I said before, Rodman, he only played a handful of games, but even at age 38, he was an elite rebounder. And unofficially, he averaged the most boards during the 2000 season at 14.3. And for a player over the age of 37 in NBA history, Rodman has the record for the highest rebound average. And in his fourth to last game ever versus the New Jersey Nets, Rodman had 21 boards, becoming the third oldest player ever to have 20 rebounds in an NBA game. And in his last game ever, he had 15 rebounds, which is the most ever for a player in their last ever NBA game. So Rodman at 38, he definitely wasn't in his prime, but for the Mavericks, he was still a very effective player, specifically on the defensive end and the offensive glass. Now next up on our list, number 7, we have Kobe Bryant during the 2016 season. And during this year, Kobe, he was 37 years old, playing for a Lakers team that only won 17 games. And of course, Kobe at this point, he was post-Achilles, and not near as good as he was in his prime. But still, with that being the case, I would say he had a decent season, averaging 17.6 points per game, 3.7 boards, 2.8 assists on 36, 29, and 83 splits. And even with Kobe's below average scoring, he was still LA's leading scorer at 17 points per game. And in his last ever game, he scored 60 versus the Jazz, becoming the oldest player ever to reach that mark when it comes to scoring. And also in that game, he had 23 points in the fourth quarter, becoming the oldest player ever to have that many points in a fourth quarter. And for the entire season, Kobe, on roughly 200 attempts, he shot 60.2% on pull-up jump shots. And I will say in Kobe's defense, he had a really rough start to the season, but around the midway mark, he really did pick it up. His scoring, his efficiency, and his all-around play was much better the second half of the year. As in February, he averaged 22.3 points per game, and in April, 25.6 points per game. And when talking about 2016 Kobe at age 37, his skills were still very sharp, his footwork, everything was still there, but his athletic ability, he was very much diminished, and that Achilles injury definitely devastated him at age 37. Now looking ahead on our list at number 6, we have a former teammate of Kobe, that being Steve Nash. And for this list, we look at Nash's season during 2012, his last with the Phoenix Suns. And really, this was Nash's last ever really dominant and good effective season. As for the Suns that year, he averaged 12.5 points per game, 10.7 assists, 3.0 boards on 53, 39, and 89 splits. So Nash, even at 37, he was still a double-double machine, nearing 50, 40, 90 splits. And in NBA history, he's the highest assist average for a player over the age of 37. And during the 2012 season, he was top 2 in assists on being behind Chris Paul. And in total this year, he had 41 games of 10 plus assists. That was also second in the NBA. And speaking of second place, he was also second in 50, 40, 90 games, only behind Kevin Durant, the most efficient scorer in NBA history. And when it came to scoring and assists, Steve Nash had 28 double-doubles, which was finally the most in the NBA for the 2012 season. So Nash in 2012 at age 37 had a really underrated year. He was still very effective, nearing 50, 40, 90 splits. Now staying in the Western Conference, next up at number 5, we have 2013-2014 Tim Duncan. And at this point, Duncan, I would say he was past his prime, but he's still a very, very effective player. For the 2014 season, he averaged 15.1 points per game, 9.7 boards, 3.0 assists, 1.9 blocks, on 49% shooting, and 73% from the line. And for a player 37 years or older, Duncan had the 4th highest rebound average at 9.7, and for the 2014 season, he was 5th in blocks and 12th in rebounds. And when it comes to defensive end Duncan, looking back on it, I think he was definitely snubbed of an all-defensive team selection. As for the year, he was 4th in defensive rating, 8th in defensive box with minus, and 9th in defensive win share. One of only a handful of players, top 10 in all 3 of those categories. And when it comes to playoff Duncan, he actually elevated his play, averaging 16 points per game, 9.2 boards, on 52% shooting. And in total, he was the NBA's leader in rebounds for the 2014 playoffs. And one last thing I do want to note, Duncan this year shot 54% from his iconic bank shot. So like many of these players, Duncan, even in his later years, his skills are still polished, and on the defensive end, he was very much elite. And somehow, he was snubbed of an all-defensive team selection as well as an all-star selection. As once again for the Spurs team, they had to win the championship, with Duncan being their second best, sometimes even their best player, depending on the series. Now looking ahead to number 4, we have another all-time great power forward, that being Karl Malone. And as you guys know, Malone, he had great longevity, and past the age of 37, he was very much an effective player. And during the 0-1 season, at age 38, he had a spectacular all-star campaign. As that year, he averaged 23.3 points per game, 8.3 boards, 4.5 assists, 1.1 steals, on 49% shooting, and 79% for the line. And for his Jazz team, he led in points as well as rebounds. And among players past the age of 37, he had the 3rd highest scoring average and the 7th highest rebound average in NBA history. And pretty impressive for Malone at age 38, he was 3rd team All-NBA and very much elite at the power forward position. And among the NBA's best players, he was top 15 in points as well as rebounds. And when it came to playoffs, in a first round exit, he averaged 27.6 points per game, the highest average for a player 37 years or older. So when looking at Malone's season, what sticks out is that he was 3rd team All-NBA as well as an All-Star at age 38. I think his longevity is actually pretty underrated in NBA history, as not many people know how good he was at his later stages. Now getting to the top 3 at number 3, we do have Michael Jordan with the Washington Wizards. And for Jordan, this is his first year back after 3 years of being retired after playing with the Chicago Bulls. And coming to the Wizards, there definitely were some expectations that Jordan could still be a very effective NBA player. And looking at the 0-2 season, I would say Jordan was definitely that. As on the year, he averaged 22.9 points per game, 5.7 boards, 5.2 assists, on 42, 19, and 79 splits. Of course, for prime Jordan, those shooting splits aren't up to par, but for an age 37-38 Jordan, they're definitely understandable. And looking at the NBA, during the 0-2 season, Jordan was one of 5 players who averaged 25-5. Some of those players included T-Mac, as well as Kobe during that season. And for a 38-year-old in NBA history, Jordan is the highest scoring average of all time. And during the 0-2 season, Jordan had 373 mid-range makes. That was 1st in the NBA on 43% shooting. And when it came to 4th quarter scoring, he was 11th. And as you guys know, when it comes to Jordan, scoring is definitely his best trait. And during this year, he scored 51 points, becoming the 2nd oldest player ever to score 50 points in an NBA game. And on the year, he had 5 games of 40 plus points. That was the 5th most in the NBA. And I do want to note one thing for some added context. Jordan this year only played 60 games. At that point, the 3rd lowest of his career. And why that was early in the year, he had a devastating knee injury 46 games into the season. And when looking at those 46 games before injury, Jordan was averaging 25.1 points per game, once again at age 38. So I think if Jordan wasn't injured, he would have had an even better season in 0-2. But still, with that being the case, he was the mid-range king, a great scorer, as well as a great all-around offensive player at age 38. Now, looking ahead on our list at number 2, we have one of the underrated GOATs, that being Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And for Kareem's best year past age 37, we look to the 1985 NBA season. This year, Kareem was still an all-star and a top 3 center in the NBA. And for the season, he averaged 22 points per game, 7.9 boards, 3.2 assists, 2.1 blocks, on near 60% shooting, and 73% from the line. And for his Lakers team, he with Magic and James Worthy, he was their leading scorer, rebounder, as well as shot blocker. And on the season, by averaging 2.1 blocks per game, he became the oldest player ever to average that many blocks in an NBA season. When it came to scoring, he had the third highest average for a player past the age of 37. And very similar to Karl Malone, Kareem this year was second team All-NBA. And one thing for Kareem that is very rare is that at this point in his career, he should put on a winning team as well as a championship team. As the '85 Lakers, they had to win the championship beating the Boston Celtics. And that playoff run, Kareem actually elevated his play, averaging 22 points per game, 8.1 boards, 4.0 steals, 2 blocks, and 1.5 steals. Once again, on 59% shooting. And when it came to the NBA Finals, he averaged 25.7 points per game and was the Finals MVP. And when looking at his best games, he scored 36, 30, 29, and 26. And the final 2 games of that series, he averaged 32.5 points per game, 7.0 boards, 5.5 assists, on 60% shooting. So Kareem at age 38, for the 2 most crucial games in the season, stepped up big time for his Lakers team. And that right there is a big reason I put Kareem at the number 2 spot on this list. Now getting to number 1, we have another Laker, that being LeBron James in the 2022 season. And this year LeBron, he's now turned 37, and so far has shown 0 signs of slowing down. As for the year, he's averaging 26.8 points per game, 6.7 boards, 6.5 assists, on 51, 35, and 77 splits. Once again, at age 37. In NBA history, he has the highest scoring average for a player at that age, and the 8th highest assist average for a 37-year-old. And for the NBA in total right now, he is 6th in 4th quarter scoring. And when looking at his own career, his free throw shooting is much improved, the highest since 2012. And his scoring average of 26.8 is identical to his 2013 MVP that was nearly a decade ago. And if he keeps this up, he'll have his 18th straight 25-point game season, which is by far an NBA record. And why I put LeBron at number 1 is at age 37, his athletic ability is still remarkable. As from game to game, he'll do things that'll make you shake your head. So I think that right there, that's Exhibit A, as to why LeBron is number 1 on this list. Right now, he's absolutely on fire, and in the midst of the best ever age 37 season. So with that being said, that is the end of the video, and that was 8 of the best players at age 37 or even older. So with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts. Who do you think is the best player at the age of 37 or even older? As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.